Okay, so free agency is pretty much on the tail end. Most of the
Yep.
insane trades we expect at the time of recording this are probably done.
Correct.
So now it's time to look at realistic landing spots for some of these rookie running backs.
Mm-hmm.
Badake, you and I have said this multiple times on different streams, but it is getting more and more difficult to find ideal landing spots for some of these rookie running backs that we really like.
Correct.
And it feels like they might be drafted later than we originally anticipated if this continues. And I mean, at the moment, Melvin Gordon still hasn't signed. So there's a few running backs who have not signed to certain teams. But what we're going to do today is we're going to look at the top two running backs for us. I guess consensus wise, Breece Hall, Kenneth Walker, and we are going to decide a landing spot for them. Look firstly at realistic spots. Secondly, we will give one of our most likely landing spots in our opinion. So let's start off with Breece Hall. You know, Miami looked really great at one point. They've signed 40 running backs in the offseason. Arizona, we said, was the ideal spot. James Conner is back.
Correct.
So now when we look at the draft board and most of the draft picks have kind of started to settle a little bit, let's talk about realistic landing spots. Give me a couple landing spots that make sense. We'll kind of go back and forth here, and then we'll talk about our most realistic spot.
Yeah, look, so, I mean, I have a couple teams here. I have the Houston Texans. I have the New York Jets and the Buffalo Bills. I think those are the most realistic landing spots in my eyes. I think teams can take a shot on him in the first or even second round, and maybe I doubt Breece will fall to the second round, personally. But if that's the case, then these guys are still there in the early second as well, besides the Bills. But for me, these are the guys that these teams feel a lot more comfortable for Breece Hall moving forward.
So Bills, I'm assuming you're round one, pick 25.
Yes, correct.
Okay, so the first round pick. The Jets, are you thinking they spend a first on him, or are you thinking second round?
I'm thinking a second round because once the Jets have an early second now from Carolina from the past, I think, couple years. So either they can move up from the second, be the very first, like the 201.
They do have two picks in that first,
Yeah, exactly.
picks,
so I mean, I don't know if the Jets will want to take Breece in the top 10.
No, sorry, I mean in the second round as well.
In the second round, okay, right. No, yeah, that makes sense. I think they have the opportunity to move up in the second, becoming the first pick in the second round, hypothetically, if Breece is no longer there in the first. I can kind of see that happening, but I just don't see him leaving the first once again.
All right, so you pretty much nailed the head on that. There's one other team that I wanted to throw out there. So, yeah, I agree. Buffalo in the first round, the Jets with one of those early second round picks, the Texans with their second round pick.
Correct.
They have a pretty big need at running back. The reason I'm a little bit hesitant on the Texans there is because they have a ton of needs, and I'm not sure they're going to prioritize running back when rebuilding the team. The Falcons feel like a potential landing spot for me. I don't know if he falls this far, but the running back positional value is getting worse and worse each year in these drafts. And people who spend high draft capital, I mean, they look back on it and it wasn't worth it. So the Falcons with their 43rd pick there in round 2, they could trade up even like the Broncos did last year for Javonte if they're hearing rumors around the league that, he's going to go pretty soon.
Yeah, exactly.
But let's give our most likely landing spot. And I don't know yours, and I don't know if you have a glance at mine. That's the wrong English to use there. But my most likely landing spot here is the New York Jets at pick 35. Okay, so the second round.
Wow. Okay.
And the third pick is where I see Breece Hall going. Outside of Buffalo, I don't think there's a team in the first round that's going to take a shot on Breece. Could be wrong, right? But think about this: the Jets have 4 picks in the first 38. Okay, in the first 38 picks, they have 4 of them. So it's a little bit more difficult for other teams maybe to justify going running back where Breece is probably going to go because they have such limited capital. Whereas the Jets, I mean, they have a ton to play around with here. And while they have needs all over the field, I think that they could definitely address those needs earlier, in the first round and then build a little bit more of a complete team. And let's be honest, what is this entire year about? What was last year all about? And what will next year be all about? Let's see what we have in Zach Wilson.
Exactly.
Let's see what Zach Wilson truly is, okay? So picture this, okay? Okay, so they go offensive line or defensive end or cornerback,
Right,
with the fourth pick.
Okay.
And the 38th pick. So
Okay.
that fourth and the 38th pick that they have, they address O-line, defensive end, and cornerback. At number 10, they go Drake London or a different wide receiver. And then at 35, you go Breece. So you solidify the run game. You help Zach Wilson's development. And that is the most important thing for this team. Now you have a starting lineup that looks like Zach Wilson, Breece Hall, Michael Carter in the backfield,
Right.
Drake London, Elijah Moore, Corey Davis, right? Drake is your X, Elijah is your slot, Corey is your Y. And then they also brought in some pretty decent, competent tight ends in Uzama and Conklin. And then the offensive line is young and talented. You add another piece to that. For me, this makes a lot of sense for the New York Jets. This makes this offense automatically, it makes it better because you have an impact running back. We love Michael Carter.
Yeah.
But Breece Hall can bring something very, very different to the Jets. And by the way, I think the Bills are the most ideal landing spot because I just want to quickly talk about how the Jets would impact him for Dynasty. You know,
Correct.
what would that change anything for me? So the Bills are the most ideal landing spot, but I still think he would be worthy of the 101 if he went here to New York, okay? Because he absolutely takes this offense to a next step. And Michael Carter, in my opinion, he's probably going to be the reason people are a little bit hesitant, but I view him more as the complementary back there if that happens. Like, this is what a lot of NFL teams are doing. They do have that 1-2 punch. And maybe Michael Carter turns into the J.D. McKissick, the James White of this team, and he can do that at a very elite level. So I think it makes sense for their team as a whole. You might not love it, I guess, because you want to go to a running back room that's completely empty, but show me a running back room that's empty, you know? So that's my ideal spot, and that's how I think it impacts Dynasty. It doesn't. Like, I would still take him at the 101. What about you? What's your ideal spot there?
Yeah, look, before, just a note on that, it's very interesting because, you know, I know these guys kind of invested, at least the Jets invested in Michael P. Ryan. Nowhere near a top talent as a Breece Hall, but I wonder if they're still wanting to hold on and hope that he could become something.
I don't think so. I mean, otherwise they wouldn't have re-signed Tevin Coleman.
Yeah.
What's the point of having Michael P. Ryan and Tevin Coleman if they believe in Michael P. Ryan, you know?
Yeah, exactly. So for me, my realistic landing spot, Zach was saying, is the Buffalo Bills. I mean, keep it simple, stupid. We say this all the time when we draft. I mean, it's the Buffalo Bills. This makes the most sense. This is the one where I feel like all the fantasy analysts and the NFL analysts are saying, hey, it's the Buffalo Bills. This is easy. In 2020, what did the Bills need? They needed a better defense, so they get a better defense in the 2021 draft. In 2021, what did they lack in their game? It is a run game. Even though Josh Allen was the guy, he was RB1 amongst them and Singletary and Zach Moss. They still need a RB1. Well, excuse me. Why? Because Sean McDermott already says we need to protect Josh Allen. I've been saying this for a long time. I've been telling Zach they need to protect Josh Allen. This is a long-term investment. You want him running as much as he did this past year? Absolutely not. There's going to be one time where he's running, he is going to get clocked. He is going to get hurt, and they are going to be losing games. Just like I said, Lamar Jackson, the reason why that team did not make the playoffs is because Lamar Jackson missed the second half of the season. If that happens to the Buffalo Bills, that's tremendous for them. You know, like, they are in contention right now. They need to try to win. It's a really small window, especially in the AFC. It is tough. It is tough, okay? So it just makes more sense for me for Breece Hall to go to the Buffalo Bills. They need a run game. And it's okay. I know they have Zach Moss, kind of like Zach said. You know, you want an ideal landing spot where there's nobody there. Zach Moss, Devin Singletary.
I mean, look, here's what I'll say. You don't not draft Jonathan Taylor because you have Marlon Mack. If you have a generational talented running back on the board, I mean, you don't pass up on them because you have this okay running back. You know what I mean? So I get it.
It makes sense. Breece Hall could be the 1-2 back, even the all three down back. And then Devin Singletary can be a pass catching back. He can catch the ball a little bit. You know, we saw that a little bit this past year. So why not? That could be a good complementary. And then Zach Moss, I don't know what you do with him. Maybe trade him away.
He probably just becomes a death piece.
Yeah, exactly. Becomes a death piece, whatever the case may be. But I think that would be a good complementary 1-2 running back punch over there in Buffalo.
Yeah, so Buffalo was probably my second destination, and I can definitely see it happening. The only reason I'm a little bit hesitant is, again, because it's just the trend is teams not spending a first round draft pick on running backs.
On a
You know
running
what
back,
I mean?
yeah. And I think it makes sense. I think you know why I would, I guess, disagree is because spending a first round draft pick at the end, I think that's okay. You know, we saw that with well, we didn't see that with Jonathan Taylor. We saw that with Clyde in the first. Even though he didn't work out, obviously we saw that with Saquon that really kind of hurt. But coming in the second half of that first round, I think it's a decent chance to take because who else? I mean, there's still talent on the board.
There's
sure.
other needs that I think that if they had more picks, I would say it makes sense. But I mean,
and I think that's
what makes it more difficult.
They can't pass up on him. I don't think so because they have another 30 something picks until their second pick. I mean, unless
if they pass up on him, they're not going to get him. But that's the issue. I just think there might be other needs, and I know it's a spot that we all love, but unless it's the first round, it's not happening. And that trend is that people are a little bit hesitant. So it's a good combo though, and I do think that's the best landing spot for Dynasty for sure. Like that would be the dream situation. All right, let's talk about Kenneth Walker. I don't imagine Kenneth Walker goes as high as Breece Hall, but could be wrong. Definitely could be wrong. Yeah. Kenneth Walker is my RB2. He's your 3. I know you have Jerome 4. We don't have Jerome 4 in this video. And if you guys want us to make more ideal landing spots for the other running backs, let us know.
Yeah.
But Kenneth Walker, I can see him going to Atlanta. So in round 2, they have a couple picks there in round 2. And I imagine that pick 58 could be a realistic possibility for Atlanta. Maybe they have to go as high as pick 43.
Okay.
But in my opinion, and I could be very wrong, I don't know exactly. We only have the information that we have that's been given to us by the media. We don't have the insight to certain coaches, but I think this is kind of where we're going to start to see Kenneth Walker's name around pick 58 onward. So he makes a lot of sense to me in Atlanta. The Chiefs could potentially go this way. I know they just got Ronald Jones.
Okay.
But again, if Kenneth Walker is that generational talent in your eyes, then you don't pass up on him because you have Ronald Jones on the roster. I think pick 62 for them makes sense. The Texans at pick 68 in the third round, and the Chargers at pick 79 in the third round make a lot of sense to me as well. And I think a lot of people would be confused by that Charger pick there, but you have to keep in mind Austin Eckler is not getting any younger. And it is quite common for teams to do this 1-2 complementary piece. And Kenneth Walker feels like a really, really good complementary piece to Austin Eckler in that offense. I think they complement each other really well. But is there any landing spots that I didn't say that you wanted to talk about?
No, it's perfect. I think for me, it's the Atlanta Falcons and the Houston Texans. I think the Texans can take him as high as the 37th pick in the second round. I mean, maybe they trade down. Maybe there's an opportunity for them to take him, or whatever the case may be. Sure, I think the Houston Texans
for sure
can definitely make a move for him.
Yeah, look, he could go as early as 37. That wouldn't surprise me. I guess
in fantasy, well, not in the fantasy analyst world, because everyone still loves Isaiah Spiller, which we're not. I mean, I feel like it's Breece Hall, Isaiah Spiller, Kenneth Walker, and Kyron Williams. These are the guys that have been in conversation for the top 4 running backs that have been.
I'd say Kyron's way out of that now.
Yeah, probably. But these are the guys that have been in talks of being the top at least 5 running backs going off the board. Right. I won't be surprised if Breece goes in the first and then Kyron goes in the early second, mid second. I think that makes sense.
That wouldn't surprise me either. I just think that in my head, teams are looking at how other teams have gone running back in the first, and
maybe.
So for me, I just think the positional value is going to continue to push running backs down, and especially the way that most of these teams have addressed the position. But he could definitely go as early as 37. I think that's a very realistic possibility. I guess in my mind, I'm just thinking of how much wide receiver talent there is, edge talent, cornerbacks, offensive line, and a lot of these teams I think would value that position over RB. But again, he could go earlier for sure. Let's talk about most likely landing spot. I'll go first.
Okay.
So for me, I have the Atlanta Falcons at round 2, pick 58. Okay, they have 2 picks in the second round. One's at 43, one's at 58. I could be wrong. Absolutely. Been wrong before. Maybe they do have to spend. Maybe they do have to even trade up, right? Yeah, and jump someone and to grab Kenneth Walker here. But they have a lot of picks to kind of move around with. And I think it makes sense for them because running back is such a clear need on this team. It's so obvious, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
You have a 29-year-old Mike Davis who has 1 year left on his deal. He had an abysmal season last year. Abysmal. I mean, every play, I'd say 1 out of 10 plays, you're like, oh, wow, that looks like Carolina Mike Davis.
Right.
But 9 out of 10 plays, it was like, this guy looks old. He looks stiff. He had 503 yards on 3.6 yards per carry. And I think it's safe to say, can we agree that Mike Davis isn't the future of this backfield?
Absolutely. 100%.
So they signed Cordero Patterson. Let's talk about him. He's on a 2-year deal, but I don't think he fits the workhorse running back role. He's more of an X factor guy you can place.
Okay.
He's not Deebo Samuel, but he can be that for this offense as far as play that role to the best of his ability. So he's also 31 years old. He's not getting any younger. And when I say I don't think he's a workhorse running back, I think there are really good reasons to back that based off what we saw last year.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, he definitely wore down quite a bit towards the end of the season and was less efficient than he was to begin the year. And that happens with older players. As the year goes on, the wear and tear on your body is just so harsh that it does affect your efficiency as you get older. So from weeks 1 to 13, let's look at weeks 1 to 13. Patterson was averaging over 91 total yards per game, 4.6 yards per carry, almost a touchdown a game, and he was the RB6.
Right.
Let's look at weeks 14 to 18 as his body starts to wear down there. He goes from averaging 91 yards to 31. He goes from averaging 4.6 yards per carry to 2.7. He goes from averaging almost a touchdown a game to 0.4 touchdowns per game.
Right.
Okay. And then he goes from the RB6 in that time period to the RB42 from weeks 14 to 18. So while in the beginning of the season, it felt like they could really rely on him in the RB position, he's not got the juice to do that game in, game out, every game of the season, to be a reliable player with no injuries. So for me, it makes a lot of sense for them to bring in a running back, whether they go this early or they wait and they grab a Brian Robinson later on, or one of those running backs, Zamir White, or whatever the case may be. But to me, it makes a lot of sense to get an X factor player in this offense because we need to take some pressure off of this offense, the offensive players, the offensive stars there, and Marcus Mariota, etc. So look, this is not the ideal landing spot for a rookie running back. When you think about,
I think it's it would be ideal, I guess, in a fantasy perspective, because this team is rebuilding. It's kind of coming into play. I guess that's the thought process.
I guess when I say that, I mean it's not the ideal offense to step into, but there is going to be a very clear pathway towards opportunity. Okay. So the offense isn't in a great spot. Offensive line isn't good. I mean, Marcus Mariota, we like him, but is he the future? Probably not. Kyle Pitts is really the only shining star there. So the offense is not the ideal, offense, but I think the opportunities would be instant. And that's kind of what you want with your rookie RB. So that's my ideal landing spot. What about yours?
For me, it's the Houston Texans. And for me, this just feels right. At first, when you hear it, you're like, oh, I don't want that. It doesn't sound good. I don't want any of my fantasy or these fantasy guys going to the Houston Texans or Texans. Or I mean, at the time, it was like the Jags or the Dolphins. It's like, oh, they're going to be, it's dead in fantasy. But I think we have to change the conversation. Let's remember the Texans just traded away Deshaun Watson. They have 3 first-round picks in the next 3 years or something like that. So that means they're going to have 2 first-round picks for the next 3 years if that whole DeAndre Hopkins trade nonsense has already surpassed them. So for me, this is easy. It's the Houston Texans, and you have to look at this team. You have to look at how they're going to build. Let's not forget they have 2 first-round picks. Okay, in this draft, they have the 3rd and the 13th pick. One can be an offensive lineman. One can be a wide receiver. Do they go wide receiver at 13? Maybe not. But I do believe they get Kenneth Walker in the 2nd round and the 37th pick in the 2nd round. This just makes sense. Davis Mills, who has shown up and to be the most successful so far quarterback in a QBR rating, showed up and he is.
Is his QBR better than Mac Jones this year?
Yeah, his QBR was better than that. If I'm not mistaken, I'm pretty sure it is. It was. I don't have.
I'll double check on that. Go ahead.
I don't have the stats in front of me, but I'm pretty sure it was either 1st or 2nd behind Mac Jones.
Okay.
And then
impressive regardless.
Yeah, exactly. So that's fantastic. And let's not forget, if he doesn't work out, they have draft picks for the next 3 years. There's definitely talent in 2023. We don't know what 2024 looks like. And then the wide receiver room, Brandon Cooks, Nico Collins, who I believe in. And if they do go with a rookie wide receiver in the first 13, maybe Drake London falls to them. Chris Olave, if they take the chance that they want to go that early, whatever they Treylon Burks, there's so many guys they can take there. Maybe it's not the right person to take. Maybe they reach in that position. Whatever the case may be, it's okay. And then the tight end Brevin Jordan, who we both love, and the offensive line in the first pick. At the third pick, excuse me, with the third pick,
today, Junior,
it's either going to be O'Neal or Icky, excuse me. You get these guys, generational talent that's going to come onto your team and protect Davis Mills and Kenneth Walker. To me, it just makes so much sense. It will complete the team. Maybe he doesn't get everything you want right now because you think of this depth chart. Well, they have David Johnson. He's 31 years old. They have Rex Berkman. He's 30 years old. These guys are going to walk away here very, very soon. It's time for them to start getting these young pieces. And we see the young pieces. Once again, Davis Mills, Nico, Brevin Jordan, the offensive line that's going to come in, at least the expectation.
Yeah. I think the Texans are in a better spot than people would like to admit.
Exactly. And the defense were playing a little bit. Played good in the early part, and then they kind of fell off.
First off, shout out to Shaquille O'Neal.
Okay.
Because you keep saying O'Neal every time you say Evan Neal.
Evan Neal, sorry.
I just find that hilarious. Secondly, so Davis Mills finished 26th in QBR, Mac Jones 16th. We just want to make sure we're clear there. But to be fair, Davis Mills 26th, but then below him in QBR, Trevor Lawrence, Zach Wilson, Justin Fields. Yeah. So he definitely was better than most of the rookies this year. Correct. I like it. I think it makes sense. And honestly, if you go into to the Houston Texans, you're instantly getting a bunch of workload, in my opinion, for Kenneth Walker. So, again, the running back position doesn't have a lot of longevity in the NFL. So, sometimes it is worth being in a position where you can get work straight away. So, I like it. Let us know if you want us to do more landing spots for different rookies. If you agree or disagree with some of these, comment down below.
Yo, what's good? Thanks for watching. We got a lot more videos.
A lot more.
If you want more videos.
Watch it.
You can also subscribe.
Right now.
If you want to.
You need to.
And lastly, don't forget that you can sign up to support the show and get exclusive content by going to patreon.com/fantasylandfam.